Hey, everybody. How we doing? Pretty good, I hope. Wow, some crazy times we're living in, wouldn't you say? We got uh, we got all these truckers all over the world, all over the world. Got to be 500,000 truckers protesting mandate. I need a chiropractor. Trying to straighten up here. Uh, yeah, and millions of people supporting them. I mean, lining the highways, making food, donating money for a mandate. For a mandate. Because freedom is being oppressed. Now, come on, people. Seriously? I'm trying to get you to get it in your head here. You want power, deal with your sheriff. Because the sheriff is the highest law enforcer. If you can't deal with your sheriff, run for sheriff. We got elections coming up. Now, I read my case that I'm putting on all Michigan sheriff and undersheriffs except for Kalkaska and Barry County because they've already been in court. We'll be putting wanted posters, dead or alive, for those in their lobby. We'll be giving notice to all the employees in there that their sheriff and undersheriff have been in open court and agree to charge of treason in open court. Which court? The highest court. The Supreme Court? Oh, no. See, that's like way down here. Way down here. In the three equal branches of government. In the Constitution. Above that is your sheriff. Above your sheriff is your assembly. No, I'm sorry. I said that wrong. Above your sheriff is your grand jury. Above the grand jury is the assemblyman. Above the assemblyman is we the people. You don't have to reclaim your identity. All you have to do is own your jurisdiction, your status, and your standing. That's it. Maxims of law. You can give up your rights, or you can stand on them. You can be a slave, or you can be the boss. So, here in Michigan, I got over 120 videos on YouTube now over this. I've had to take a massive learning curve. I mean, absolutely massive. But that's been my life. I've been one learning curve after another my whole life. So I'm kind of primed for this. And it's been absolutely brutal. But it's starting to feel good now because people are getting it. They are. More and more people are getting their Americans Notice of Liability. Now, in the chat today, Josh Eddy asked someone, I believe it was a female. I can't remember the name. Have you served your notice of liability? Have you served a notice of liability? And this person answered back, no, that's a waste of time. And I jumped in and I did a little bit of explaining. And all of a sudden, that person who used to be a process server who said notice of liability is a waste of time says, I'm with you. It's happening. People are getting it. Everybody should facilitate that Americans Notice of Liability. Now, I updated it last night. I did. I changed January to February. That's just one less thing you got to backspace out and deal with. Cheap is free. oralhealthwithcannabis.com. Link's always in the description. Go to the services page, download it, make it your own, make copies. Now just imagine 1,000 people surround the sheriff's department. Sheriff sworn to uphold the law, the constitutional law, not clown world, parasite world, legalese, bastardized justice, enslaving all of you. A perfect example of this stupidity is this guy here in Southfield, Michigan, Steve Leto's Law, something like that. He's got a video out, the top 10 things not in the Constitution. You should listen to this parasite. This is who we're trained to go to for legal advice. Why would you ever want legal advice? Because you've been brainwashed. You've been brainwashed to be a slave. You want lawful advice. Now you get in front of these black robes and they'll say, have you been advised of your rights? And if you've talked with one of these parasites like Mr. Leto, you're going to say, yeah, I've been advised of my rights. By the enemy, a parasite. You're paying this jackal to enslave you, to represent you. You want to be advised of your lawful rights. It's a constitutional provision for you to be advised of your constitutional rights. People have been afraid, living in fear. I know for a fact. A lot of good men afraid to associate with me because I've had so many targets on my back, but I just keep pushing forward. I'm backing down for nothing. And I'm coming hard. The Constitutional Accountability Committee and the People's Bureau of Investigation is going to serve my case on every remaining Michigan sheriff and undersheriff. Not their departments, on the man. On the man. But there's penalties in there for the man, the department, the county, and the state. I got a feeling once that Constitutional Accountability Committee gets on the road, there might just be a parade. There might be a party of 1,000 people waiting at the county sheriff's department when the Constitutional Accountability Committee and the People's Bureau of Investigation show up. to educate that sheriff, educate that undersheriff, to post Gretchen Whitmer's court case in the lobby, where Gretchen Whitmer, in an open court of record, admits and agrees to charge of treason. We need a sheriff that's going to arrest her. Kalkaska County Sheriff wouldn't do it. Barry County Sheriff wouldn't do it. All right, they can hang with her. And a bunch of others. They're enslaving you. And we're paying them to do it. Wake up, people. All right, now I've taken some more action with the courts. I did, and this one's personal. What I'm doing with the Constitutional Accountability Committee, what I'm doing is the executive emergency manager for Michigan, with the governor making a declaration of war on we the people in an open court. I'm doing this by God. But I filed a case the other day on a judge here in Kalkaska County. It's kind of interesting to me how many female judges there are in that administrative clown world. And they seem to be a lot of man haters. They seem to be selected for that. So with the divorce rate, the way that it is, that's just like isn't that a perfect combination for these parasites? It's all evil. And God is really upset. A lot of my key words get stepped on my videos lately. I'm going to say that again. A lot of my key words get stepped on my videos lately. I don't know why that's happening. All I know is it's happening. Words are just gone. So that makes my sentence, that makes the context of the phrase that I'm using not what's intended. And a lot of words are getting muffled. That must tell you something, huh? I'm not violating the rules to get struck and banned. But it sure seems like there's some suppression going on. I could be coming right through here. All right. They've been watching me, monitoring me, listening to everything I say, whether I say it here at home, whether I say it on the phone, where I travel. Oh, I don't care. Don't start, Ethan. We need to get you some mics. Is the mic not working? Susan? I got thumbs up. Well, I'm going to keep talking. Can you hear me? Anybody in the chat? Sounds good. All right, cool. Okay. All right. So, just imagine 40 men at the sheriff's department looking eyeball to eyeball. 39 of them standing there with their arms crossed and their shoulders back and their heads up straight. and one man speaking some truth. I bet you most of these sheriffs would crap their pants. It appears to me most all of them are spineless if they're not working with the support of the parasites. They're all doing administrative work all day long. All day long, these parasites are doing administrative work for the enemies. We're going to deal with that. All right. What'd you do, Ethan? Well, we're going to talk about that. Let's see, what do I got here? All right. Two things I'm going to talk about here. Talked about this one, did a video on it. This county clerk here in Kalkaska, Deborah Hill, with the 46th Circuit Trial Court, sent me this. Yeah, you see the yellow highlights. You're summoned. Jury date R, September 27th, 2021. Read the reverse side of the summons for further instructions. I'm being instructed, huh? You must appear at 1:30 p.m. to serve as a petite juror. Says who? I'm no slave. Do I look like a slave to you? All right, so what'd you do, Ethan? Well, for the people that are following me, they've heard this. I won't go through. I won't read all of this, okay? I filed a case. I put in some constitutional provisions here, and then I get into some testimony. This doesn't take long. We'll go through the testimony. Because a lot of situations people are dealing with, you can follow this same format, this same template, the same critical thinking, and apply it to your situation. All right. Here we start my testimony after the constitutional provisions, which are testimony under penalty of perjury in open court of record. Mailed to, it's got my address. An invitation in the form of a summons was delivered by United States Postal Service. See Exhibit 1, 2 pages. All right, what are we talking about? We're talking about this thing right here, right? Keep your originals. People, you keep sending your stuff back. Keep your originals. You're going to send anything back, send a copy. That's your evidence. All right. This goes on. Said invitation / summons is filled with detailed instructions in threatening language for non-compliance to said instructions, and this invitation is addressed to, and then my name in all caps, right? This goes on to say, my name in all caps is printed. Ethan D. Dean, right? That's all caps. I'm just going to, when I say all caps, my name all caps, that's what's written. My name all caps is a fiction entity, period. My name all caps cannot respond to your invitation. You get that? How's a fiction going to read? How's a fiction going to write? How's a fiction going to talk? It doesn't. Back to the testimony. Please take notice that the bar, the American Bar Association, the Michigan Bar Association, is private entity and not contracted with, nor does it serve to enhance the will of the American people, but stands as outside of those granted with government authority. See Exhibit 2, 1 page. Where's Exhibit 2? Ah, right here. Now, this was a notice that went to Garland. This is something that came from Dave Jose. It's a good notice. Says that the bar is enemy of the people. All right. What did I do with the case? All right. I don't have that much paper here. Holy fright. What kind of black magic's going on here? I want to finish reading my testimony. Here we go. All right. Please take further notice of the enclosed document, notice of liability that is in full force upon any and all further trespasses is now served on you and all Kalkaska County public servants per my order and the within statement above. See Exhibit 3, 1 page. Here we go. Americans Notice of Liability. Except that's my notice of liability. All right. Please take further notice that any further actions taken by you or any other Kalkaska County public servant to engage me in an administrative process will be done with full knowledge of trespass. Admit that my name in all caps is not a living man. Admit that my name in all caps is an entity. Admit that my name in all caps is a fiction. Admit that my name in all caps is not capable of reading your document. Admit that my name in all caps cannot communicate with you. Admit that per Exhibit 1, you conspiring with a private entity not aligned with constitutionally lawful protections of the people is maladministration. Did you catch that? Not aligned with constitutionally lawful protections of the people is maladministration. Admit that jury trial is a legal administrative proceeding based on bylaw. Admit that constitutionally repugnant amendments and repugnant legislation by law cannot stand as law and must be abrogated. Jeez. Trying to fix the pipe, I've sent some down the wrong pipe. Admit that trial by jury is a lawful proceeding based on constitutional common law. Admit that you have requested, my name in all caps, comma, a fiction, comma, to contract in a fraud. All right. Then I got two more constitutional provisions put in here as admits. And then this is an affidavit contract change of terms. Blah, 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 blah. And I gave a real easy remedy. I did. I felt sorry for this girl. Remedy shall be in reestablishing common law courts in Kalkaska County and upholding your duty and obligations as a public servant. All right, and then we got the notary jurt facilitation on there. So, what happened? Did the FBI come get me? Did the CIA come get me? Did the state police come get me? I'm standing here doing this. All right, what happened, Ethan? Oh, you can't believe what happened. This came in the mail. Oh, See, postage stamp. And look at the name on there. Is that all caps name? I'm trying to hold that still enough so you can see it. Is that all caps name? That's addressed to the living, the blood running through the veins. Isn't it? That's not addressed to the fiction. So far, previously, everything had been addressed to the fiction. I'm not going to hold it up. You can just trust me on that. Who's this from? Let me see. Can you see that? '46th Circuit Court, Kalkaska. And this went all the way to Traverse City to come back to Kalkaska. Talk about efficiency, huh? My God. All right. Then there's some stuff on the backside. What's on the backside? I'll tell you. 46th Circuit Court, Office of the Jury Clerk. See address on reverse side. Dear Juror. Dear Juror. This is after I held court with Deborah Hill. Kalkaska County is under a $10,000 a day penalty that's retroactive back to 2015 from a previous court case. And these parasites, they just don't quit. They just keep on coming. Dear Juror, the following action will be taken by the court with regard to your summons for jury service. Oh! Good God. I should be panicked, huh? Like that, huh? Oh, what am I going to do? Oh. Slave. I'm not a slave. So there's 5 little boxes here that can be checked or marked. First one says, you are not required to report for jury duty at this time. They didn't check that one. You are permanently excused. Didn't check that one. You will be notified in the future as to exact date to appear. Didn't check that one. Your request to be excused cannot be granted. You are to report for jury service as directed in the summons. They didn't check that one. This is the one they checked. Your request to be excused will be granted as follows. And then they put a date on here. And then until, and look, until is just a straight line. So I've been excused from jury duty forever. Woo hoo hoo. You can't excuse me. I'm not a slave. Who's this from? The only name on here. Can you see that? I think you can. Honorable Lynn M. Boudet, Judge. Judge, my ass. So what'd you do, Ethan? I made proper service. I put her in my court. Way up here. See, she's down here in these judicial courts as an enemy of the people. The enemy has infiltrated our judicial system and our legislative system. Just listen to that parasite, Leto. Listen to him tell you the 10 things that aren't in the Constitution, like the number one thing, God. He couldn't be more wrong. God is mentioned many times. So is blessings. So is privacy. So is security. So is happiness. Oh, he's going to tell you that comes from a bad movie. Yep, that's what he's going to tell you. All right. So this is the case on the judge. I'm not going to read all this. This is the first page. Why is it open court of record? Notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. Is notice to successors, replacements, substitutes. That means tell everybody. Oh, I will read a little bit more of this first page. 2. Lynn M. Boudet. Capital first letter, capital middle letter, capital first letter of the last name. AKA Lynn Boudet. AKA Lynn M. Boudet, all caps. Also, same address, to Deborah L. Hill, AKA Deborah L. Hill, all caps. Respondents, Lynn M. Boudet, Deborah L. Hill. The man, the female man. All right. Comes now affidavit, one of the people, as seen in the Michigan Bill of Rights, Article 1, Article 1, Section 1, Michigan Constitution. Chi juris in this court of record do make the following claims. See, I'm in a court of record. I'm not in their clown court. Then we drop in a couple of constitutional provisions like we always do. And that's all testimony. Oh, I should read. This is important here. This is really big print. That's comes now affidavit, one of the people, as seen in the Michigan Bill of Rights, Article 1, Section 1, Michigan Constitution. Chi juris in this court of record do make the following claims. Constitutional demand for you to end the tyranny of war against we, the people, and the people's will. And we go to those constitutional provisions. Then we get into testimony. And I did a good one in here. Like I said, this is personal for me. But this is also a lesson for you. The power you have all power. I believe this is an unrebutable affidavit, and I will have victory like I've had in every other case. The trespasses upon Ethan D. Dean from public servants and British agents conspiring and acting and conducting themselves in treasonous activities are enemies of the people. And these trespasses are numerous and continue with full knowledge and intent. As such, the penalties and fines are accumulating and now appear to also involve United States Postal Service mail fraud. See, you keep the evidence, people. You don't send it back. And you drag them into your court. Despite my repeated requests, the Kalkaska County Sheriff and Undersheriff refused to meet with me, uphold their oath of office, and additionally refused to make arrest and jail on information, indictment, guilty pleas, and order from the prosecutor. And due to the failure of duty and trespass and unrebuted affidavits, and after repeatedly being noticed, the county of Kalkaska has been under a penalty fine of $10,000 per day ongoing since December 2015. And yet the Kalkaska County Public Service ignore the law of the land and continue to trespass as if they can administer a free man without consequences. That's what the judge got to answer to. Already lost, county clerk already lost the case. They already been noticed. The judge wasn't even involved. Judge decided to get involved. Gonna try and shake me up, maybe. See if I'm a slave. See if I really know what I'd be talking about. I do, Judge. I know what I'm talking about. Evidence of the continued trespass and treason by administrative dishonorable administrative Judge Lynn M. Boudet is documented. See Exhibit 5. Dishonorable Administrative Judge Lynn M. Boudet and the Kalkaska County servants used the United States Postal Service in a fraud, operating outside of jurisdiction and in trespass upon Ethan Dean. See Exhibit 5. Please take further notice of enclosed document, notice of liability, being served again in response pertaining to orders, threats, and presumption of administrative authority to order, excuse, and penalize. Said notice of liability remains in full force upon the recent, past, and as well any and all further trespasses is now served directly on dishonored Administrative Judge Lynn M. Boudet, and again on the County of Kalkaska for a third time, and all Kalkaska County public servants per my order and the within statement above. See Exhibit 4, 1 page, and page 1 of this affidavit. This goes on. Please take further notice. Maxims are the foundation of laws of man, relations, commerce, as a foundation is a part of a building. Having their basis in God's laws, maxims of law, they are fundamental and immutable. No one of sound mind argues against maxims because they are the bedrock of logic, of reason, of common sense, of truth. The maxims are fundamental principles upon which all that is right, just, and true is founded, and are the standards to measure the correctness of any course of action. The word maxim is defined as an expression of an absolute truth or principle. Maximums are so powerful and unequivocal that they are the foundation of all relationships between man and his fellow man. Maxims have the power to cut to the heart of the matter in a heartbeat with reason, logic, and authority. Maxims over every topic maxims cover every topic imaginable and every aspect of lives of man. Maxims are not easily misunderstood, misapplied, or subverted. Maxims are universally accepted for what they are, self-evident. See Exhibit 3. Oh, I had fun with this. I did. I'm going to keep reading. First, I had to exercise my lung a little bit here. You know, God gets all the smoke. And by God, we're giving it. God gets all the glory. All the fire, all the smoke, all the glory to God. All right. Testimony goes on. The created cannot be greater than the creator. The law is harsh, but that is the law. This is testimony, and these are maxims of law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, is not a defense. Maxims of law are the foundations of law. Maxims of law are based on God's law, therefore are fundamental and immutable. Remove the foundation and all falls. All claims fail without foundation. In default of law, the maxims rule. We are all servants of the law. Courts, whether of the king, or of the people, or of parliament, are established not by written law, but by common law. Tyranny begins where law ends. Custom is observed for law. A traitor is punished, that by the death of one, all may not perish. Survival is the first law of nature. Survival is the first right of man. The first right of man is to defend himself and his property, both temporal and spiritual. No man is bound to arm his opponent. No one may make a claim in the name of another. No man has a right not to be offended. Property is what is proper to a man, exclusive of all others in the universe. No man has a right to take property of another without the consent of the owner. He who makes owns. We got more testimony here for the judge. I'm going to keep reading. Because this is where I had some good fun. This feels good. It does, because I did something here. I did something. Wait for it. It's coming. You're going to like this. As Kalkaska County, Michigan State, the State Bar of Michigan, and the Bar Association of Michigan, and the bad actors within continue to trespass in conspiratorial, coordinated, willful trespasses, I am ordering, demanding, and imposing maximum financial penalties upon each entity and bad actor involved in the entirety of all trespasses. Each trespassing involving all servants and all agents and all cohorts from the date of December 15th, 2015 to the extent that a grand jury will award. I'm going to win this case. We just need the jurors to dispense justice. Lynn M. Boudet misuses her just authority operating outside of just jurisdiction. See Exhibits 5, 6, and 7. Lynn M. Boudet makes a regular business of trespass by and through the misuses of just authority operating outside of just jurisdiction. See Exhibits 5, 6, and 7. Lynn M. Boudet is a 1975 graduate from Interlochen Arts Academy and is a 1979 graduate from the University of Michigan with a BA in English, has received her Juris Doctor degree from Thomas M. Cooley Law School in May 1983, and was admitted to the State Bar of Michigan in July 1983. As such, 3 days is sufficient time for a highly educated person to respond within claims, to the within claims. I stuttered on that. As such, 3 days is sufficient time for a highly educated person to respond to the claims within. The trespasses against Ethan D. Dean have been catastrophic. The financial costs and losses are well beyond $3.8 trillion directly related to the trespass of the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and has caused living conditions of poverty for years as the trespasses and conspiracy with bar member attacks continue to accumulate. And this is where I had some more fun. The incorporating attorney with regards to filing Six Kids Industries Incorporated and Six Kids Industries LLC has not been instructed to step aside as of 1/24/2022. Ethan D. Dean holds majority interest in said companies. Said companies have property interest in the 40-acre parcel with the mailing address. It's got this address. Please take further notice regarding the property detailed in the above paragraph. I declare, demand, affirm, and order that due to the testimony and fact presented within these matters, that any and all tax liability is void and abrogated for the term of 200 years. As such, all tax liability of said property forward is hereby abrogated regardless of future splits, divisions, separations, or sale. The entirety of said property within the on-the-record recorded land description boundaries of said property. Admit that a maxim of law is statute is. Statutes are not law, and no act statuted as law is valid if it waives a fundamental right in order to comply with the demands of something called the state. Admit that a jury will determine the financial awards that I require as remedy. Admit that actors within Kalkaska County, Michigan State, the State Bar of Michigan, and the Bar Association of Michigan continues to trespass in conspiratorial, coordinated, and willful evil treasonous acts and trespass. And as such, I am imposing, demanding, and ordering maximum penalties and fines upon each entity and each bad actor involved to the extent that can be determined and to the extent that a jury will award. Admit that Lynn M. Boudet has a history of warring with and trespassing upon Ethan Dean. See Exhibit 7. Admit that Lynn M. Boudet has no power to administer a free man. Admit that Ethan D. Dean is a free man on the land. Admit that Lynn M. Boudet has no power to administer Ethan Dean. Admit that, my name in all caps, is not a juror, but is a fiction. Admit that fiction is fiction. Admit that Ethan D. Dean is not a juror. Admit that Ethan D. Dean is not a juror, therefore he cannot be excused or ordered. Admit that Administrative Judge Lynn M. Boudet, operating outside of just jurisdiction, used the United States Postal Service in mail fraud to commit a fraud and trespass, and did trespass upon Ethan D. Dean and his privacy with actions and intent to impact his security and property rights in an evil, wicked, nefarious deed. Do I sound like a slave? Or do I sound like I'm scared? Admit that Administrative Judge Lynn M. Boudet, operating outside of just jurisdiction, used the United States Postal Service committing mail fraud and to trespass upon Ethan D. Dean, sent Dean administrative process via United States Postal Service with mail date stamped September 23rd, 2021. Keep your evidence, people. Admit that Administrative Judge Lynn M. Boudet, operating outside of just jurisdiction, used the United States Postal Service to commit a fraud and trespass upon Ethan Dean. Sent United States Postal Service mail, date stamped September 23rd, 21, with a return address of 46 Circuit Court, 605 North Birch Street, Kalkaska, Michigan, 49646. Admit that a maxim of law is malfeasance in public office is a tort. Admit that a maxim of law is a tort is an act of war. Admit that Administrative Judge Lynn M. Boudet, operating outside of just jurisdiction, used the United States Postal Service to commit a fraud and trespass upon the living flesh and blood of the living man, Ethan D. Dean. Sent United States Postal Service mail, date stamped September 23rd, 2021, with the return address of 46 Circuit Court, 605 North Birch Street, Kalkaska, Michigan. Remember that card? That's to me. The living man. Lynn M. Boudet. Going to administer the living man. Using mail fraud. Admit that Did I read that? Admit that a maximum of law. Oh, I did. Okay, move on down here. Admit that I, Ethan D. Dean, did not request to be excused from jury duty in said matter. Admit that Lynn M. Boudet has no authority to order or excuse or administer me, Ethan D. Dean, in any capacity. Admit that the quoted statement below was served upon the county of Kalkaska. Quote, please take further notice that any further actions taken by you or any other Kalkaska County public servant to engage me in an administrative process will be done with full knowledge of intent. Right? That was from the previous case. Admit that said quoted statement above was included in an affidavit served upon Deborah L. Hill and the county of Kalkaska, September 9th, year of our Lord, 2021, via certified mail with United States Post Office tracking number, blah, blah, blah. Admit that you, Lynn M. Boudet, responded to my notice of liability by committing another willful trespass upon Ethan T. Dean with evil, nefarious intent. Man-hater is what she is. Man-hater. Admit that you, Lynn M. Boudet, responded to my notice of liability and trespass that involved the United States Postal Service. Admit that you, Lynn M. Boudet, responded to my notice of liability and trespass, used the United States Postal Service in a fraud and an attempted complex fraud upon Ethan Dean and trespassed Ethan Dean with full knowledge and intent. This goes on. Admit that Kalkaska County, Michigan State, and the servants has far exceeded 3 trespasses upon Ethan D. Dean with full knowledge and intent. Admit that since first serving my notice of liability on County of Kalkaska and the Kalkaska County Sheriff Department, that Kalkaska County by and through its servants has continued to trespass upon my rights to privacy. See Exhibit 1, 5, 6, and 7. Admit that since my first serving my notice of liability on the County of Kalkaska and the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department, that Kalkaska County by and through its servants has continued to trespass upon my rights with fraudulent administrative orders. See Exhibit 1, 5, 6, and 7. Admit that since my first serving my notice of liability on the County of Kalkaska and the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department, that Kalkaska County by and through its servants has continued to trespass upon my rights with presumed authority to administer Ethan D. Dean and in a fraud involving United States Postal Service. Admit that since my first serving my notice of liability on Kalkaska County and the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department, that Kalkaska County, by and through its servants, has continued to trespass upon my rights outside of just jurisdiction without jurisdictional authority to excuse me, fraudulently excuses me. See Exhibit 1, 5, 6, and 7. Admit that since first serving my notice of liability on Kalkaska County and the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department, that Kalkaska County, by and through its servants, has continued to trespass upon my rights, refuse lawful orders, and demands of Ethan Dean, one of the people. See Exhibits 1, 5, 6, and 7. Admit that since first serving my notice of liability on the County of Kalkaska and the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department, that Kalkaska County, by and through its servants, has continued to trespass upon my rights, and are elected and appointed public servants who continue to trespass upon me. And this has clearly established a permanent trespass upon I, Ethan D. Dean. See Exhibits 1, 5, 6, and 7. Admit that the maxims of law is no man has a right to deny or trespass on the equal rights of another man. Admit that mailed to my address, an invitation in the form of a summons was delivered by United States Postal Service. See Exhibit 1, 2 pages. Admit that said invitation summons is filled with detailed instructions and threatening language of non-compliance to said instructions, and this invitation is addressed to Ethan D. Dean, all caps. Admit that my name, all caps, is a fiction entity. Admit that my name, all caps, cannot respond to said invitation. Admit that the bar, the American Bar Association, the Michigan Bar Association is private entity and is not contracted with, nor does it serve to enhance the will of the American people, but stands as outside of government, that stands outside of those granted with government authority. See Exhibit 2, 1 page. Admit that the continued warring is acts of treason against the people is further evidenced in Exhibit 5. See Exhibit 5. Admit that the handwritten with wet ink name addressed on Exhibit 5 was handwritten in blue ink and is addressed to Ethan Dean, the living flesh and blood living man. This goes on. Admit that Ethan D. Dean is the living man addressed in Exhibit 5. Admit that the statement, your request to be excused will be granted as follows, is contained within Exhibit 5. Admit that Ethan Dean never asked his Kalkaska County public servants to excuse him. Admit that a judge operating outside of jurisdiction is maladministration. Admit that a judge operating outside of jurisdiction is maladministration. I wrote that twice. Admit that a statute must be harmonious with common law. Admit that two jurisdictions cannot operate in the same state. That's a maxim. Admit a trespass is an act of war. That's a maxim. Admit that statutes are not lawful when statuted as law if it waives a fundamental right in order to comply with the demands of something called a state. That's a maxim. Admit that ignorance of the law does not excuse misconduct by anyone, least of all a sworn officer of the law. Admit that Kalkaska County public servants demonstrate treason with continued constitutional violations despite my over 2-hour education to the Kalkaska County Sheriff Department, June 28, 2021. That is recorded with the lobby audio of the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department. Admit that Ethan D. Dean, all caps, is not a living man. Admit that Ethan D. Dean, all caps, is an entity. Admit that Ethan D. Dean, all caps, is a fiction. Admit that Ethan D. Dean is not capable of reading your spelling. Admit that Ethan D. Dean, all caps, cannot communicate with you. Admit that per Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2, the Kalkaska County public servants are conspiring with members of a private entity, the bar, that is not aligned with constitutionally lawful protections of the people is maladministration. Admit that per Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2, the Kalkaska County public servants are conspiring with members of a private entity, the bar, that is not aligned with constitutionally lawful protections of the people is treason. Admit that a maxim of law is no man has a right to permit another man to act outside the law. Admit that jury trial is a legal administrative proceeding based on bylaw. Admit that all constitutional article section amendments, admit that all constitutional article section amendments. That's a incomplete admit there. Admit that all constitutionally republic legislative bylaw cannot stand as law and must be abrogated. Admit that trial by jury is a lawful judicial proceeding based on constitutional common law. Admit that Kalkaska County public servants request Ethan D. Dean, all caps, a fiction, to contract in a fraud. Admit that Kalkaska County public servants request Ethan D. Dean, all caps, a fiction, to contract in a fraud and was threatened contempt of court. Boy, this goes on, but not much longer. Not much more. We're almost there. Admit that all tax liability, past, present, and future, to the property interest in the 40-acre parcel with mailing address, this address, will have all tax liability of said property abrogated for a term of 200 years. The incorporating attorney with regards to Six Kids Industries, Inc. and Six Kids Industries, LLC has not been instructed to set aside, as of 1/24/22, Ethan D. Dean holds majority interest in said companies. Said companies have, and then we got a few more admits as constitutional provisions. And then we say, admit that all power is inherent in the people. And we drop that constitutional provision in there. And then what goes on, admit that a maxim of law is a workman is worthy of his hire. Admit that a maxim of law is it is unjust to allow someone to merchandise and prohibit others. Admit that a maximum of law is might does not make right. Admit that a maximum of law is rights abused still remain rights. Admit that a maximum of law is a right cannot be converted into a crime. Admit that a maximum of law is no man may be charged for exercising a right. Admit that a maximum of law is no man has right to deny or trespass on the equal rights of another man. Admit that a maximum of law is they who advocate pacifism in time of despotism, tyranny, and terrorism by government are traitors to man, liberty, and the law of the land. Stand up for your rights, people. To not call out treason when you know it's treason is treason. Own your authority. Did I read this? Admit that a maximum of law is, yeah, I did read that one. Admit that a maximum of law is a trespass is an act of war. Admit that a maximum of law is punish harshly a few to deter the many from doing wrong. Admit that a maximum of law is where there is a right, there is a remedy. All right, then we got the proper language in here after this is an affidavit, contract, and change of terms. Any man or woman who denies these claims are true must refute them under penalty of perjury in the form of a sworn affidavit. Any man or woman who decides to suppress this affidavit agrees to pay $30,000 in any disputes by any public official or private actors who are bound by contract to the United States Constitution and or any state constitution within or without the United States Constitution and or any I read the same line over twice. I step back here. Okay. Another reason why this is an open court of record. I'm going to back up and read this. Any man or woman who decides to suppress this affidavit agrees to pay $30,000. See? Don't suppress it. This is open court. And any disputes by any public official or private actors who are bound by contract to the United States Constitution and or any state constitution within or without the United States of America agrees to have these matters heard before an arbitrator of my choice and to be bound thereby. Any man or woman denying these claims are true must refute these claims point by point within 3 days or 72 hours. This was delivered 10 something a.m. Friday. Failure to respond means that by acquiescence you agree that all claims are true. Failing to respond with constitutionally granted authority, which gave you the power to disregard the rights of the people mentioned within this affidavit and contract, means that you agree to have this affidavit used against you as evidence of treason, constitutional rights trespass, constitutional right violation, trespass, and maladministration. You further agree that the 40-acre parcel associated with this mailing address, will have all tax liability of said property abrogated for a term of 200 years. You further agree that once the 3-day time period is up, this affidavit becomes truth and law, and that all matters must be considered adjudged, and that no court has jurisdiction to rehear these matters, and that the witness and all additional witnesses against you shall be considered sufficient for conviction. Then I give them a remedy. Remedy shall be in reestablishing common law courts in Kalkaska County, the return of any and all monies, including value of property stolen by the state, and as law, a constitutional common law retroactive financial penalty of $10,000 per day, and additionally equally charged on Kalkaska County to total $20,000 per day from the day you accepted position as administrative judge in Kalkaska County and fully complying to the within orders and demands standing as law. And then, of course, my autograph, the Nuri Jurat. And then the exhibits. So exhibit 1, 2 pages was the summons. Exhibit 2 was the bar notice. Enemies of the people. Exhibit 3 is, wow. Exhibit 3 is small print. It's page 13 through 18. It's all maxims of law. Exhibit 4, notice of liability. Exhibit 5, the evidence of treason and mail fraud by Judge Lynn M. Boudet, 46th Circuit Court, Kalkaska County, Michigan. Exhibit 6. This is awesome. This is I call this recovery doc. It's on the services page of the website. Any of you got an issue with the courts, you got to take a look at this and own it and put it into your case. Exhibit 7. Oh, this is beautiful. Michigan, State of Michigan, A7-B, District Court. Notice to appear, case number 605 North Bird Street, Kalkaska, Michigan. The people of the state of Michigan. Plaintiff, people, Ethan Dean, defendant, Michael Perot, governmental center, plaintiff's attorney. That's the prosecuting attorney who boot scoop boogied by July 31st after I served the Kalkaska County Sheriff with arrest order for that parasite in the middle of his third term, up and left. That was 2 weeks after the FBI got busted with their scheme to kidnap Gretchen. Oh, the court address above, courtroom case. Oh, you are directed to appear at the court address above, courtroom KC, before Honorable Lynn M. Boudet. All right. And the Travers Narcotics team and the offenses that they were charging me with: criminal enterprise conspiracy, criminal enterprise racketeering, proceed, CONT sub del main kilograms of marijuana. Oh, marijuana, weapons, felony firearm. So, I think dishonored, disgraced Judge Lynn M. Boudet is going to have a real hard time responding, rebuting point by point, and get any position. And you see, if I didn't dot an I or cross a T, that don't matter. That doesn't kick a case out of court. We're not in clown world. We're in truth and law. My spelling doesn't have to be perfect. My document doesn't have to be perfect. That's my testimony under penalty of perjury. What did you mean by this, Mr. Dean? Yeah. And in another couple months here, they plan to be sending me a notice on land taxes and putting me in default and want to take the property. They ain't got no right to take our property. And I just fixed it in a court of record for 200 years, regardless of splits, divisions, sale. Plus we got the fines. We stepped it up. I mean, they're well into the tens and if not hundreds of millions, maybe even, I don't know what a jury award, but it's a lot. So I've got a lot of cases. I got a case against Michigan unemployment. I won that one because my patent was denied, but I fought for it and I won it. And when I won it, unemployment started playing all kind of games with me. Yep, and I stepped into trap with a couple of bar attorneys. I was a slave then. That was just over a year ago. We need law enforcement. Now you got millions of people, tens of thousands of truckers driving all across the country to protest the mandate. Your sheriff can arrest these parasites. Ugh. Your sheriff can arrest these parasites. The problem is If there's a good one, he's trapped in his jurisdiction of his county. That's got to be corrected. That's one thing I'm taking care of. All right, so I read the case. I filed one. It's the same for all the sheriffs. I read the case. That was my way of doing my check, because everybody's too afraid to have any involvement with me. So to date, nobody has proofread one of my cases before it went out. And I've won every one. And I'm going to keep on winning them, because when it's unrebutable, it's unrebutable. And no court has jurisdiction to rehear these matters. So, do you see the difference between administrative clown court? When you hear the case went all the way to the Supreme Court. Oh my goodness. How does that happen? How does that happen? And what happens in the Supreme Court? Do they try a case? No, they just make a decision on whether it's constitutional, this or that. And it's been taken over by the enemy, parasites. They've made a clown court, kangaroo court. They made it a circus to enslave you. So, looking to raise $50,000 for the Constitutional Accountability Committee. The court case is on the services page of my website. I'm serious. It's time to donate a little bit of money, people. We're going to have men traveling the state. Got to pay them. It's only right to pay them. Probably can't pay them enough. These are good men. They'll do it for a fair way. And they'll do a professional job. This is operation. They're going to serve my case on every sheriff and undersheriff in 81 counties. They're going to post Gretchen Whitmer's court case in the lobby of every one of those sheriff's departments. They're going to post wanted posters, dead or alive, for Gretchen Whitmer in every one of those sheriff's offices. They're going to post assembly join up in every one of those sheriff lobbies. They're going to post grand jury pool join up in every one of those sheriff lobbies. And it's all going to be recorded, audio, video. And the Americans Notice of Liability is going to get served on every one of these sheriffs. And this is the Constitutional Accountability Committee and the People's Bureau of Investigation who's going to do this. And then they're going to go back. Sometime later, a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, they're going to go back, because I'm ordering the administrative courts to be shut down that day. Shut them down. For a man not to know his everyday job is a deceit, and these sheriffs do not know their job. They spend most of their time in the administrative process trespassing upon you, conspiring with British foreign agents, the enemy of the people. And with law enforcement, we fix everything. Every wrong can be dealt with lawfully. So step up, people. Be a Josh Eddy. Be a Rob Emerson. Be a John Andrew. Take action. Powerful action. Peaceful action. Force your sheriffs to do their job. You can run for sheriff. We got elections coming up. Sheriff Mack's got 400 in his posse, or roughly 400 in his posse, and Sheriff Mack is a treasonous rat. He's against assemblies, and he suggests that these sheriffs deal with the attorney general. Parasite. One of these days, Sheriff Mack, one of your sheriff posse is going to arrest you, is my prediction. Now, I wonder what old Judge Lynn M. Boudet's thinking. I haven't looked at the chat. I got to take a look at the chat here. Hey, Cody. Good to see you, Cody. Susan Williams, I'm glad you're here. Rebel, good to see you. I love it. Wellness Path for me. Hello there. Wellness Path. Where the searcharchives.org. I must be talking back and forth. All right. So, you understand the difference in the courts a little bit better now? The difference of the people's court, the power of the people's court, the position, the jurisdiction. God, the creator, creates man. We live under God's law, natural law. We create free government with a contract, with a trust indenture. Servants take an oath. 3 branches of government, 3 equal branches of government, legislative, judicial, and executive. Below that is your federal government and its 3 branches of government. Okay? So you got to come up from the federal to get to the power of the state. Above the power of the state is we the people. What's in between? There's something in between, Ethan? Yeah, there is. There's a lot in between. Here's your state, your 3 equal branches of government. You come up one level, you got your sheriff, highest law enforcement officer on the land. You come up again, you got your grand jury. You come up again, you got your assemblymen. You come up again, you got we the people. We got the trust indenture. We own this government. $50,000, and I'm going to get control of Michigan. We the people will get control of Michigan. These sheriffs are either going to be treasonous rats and the whole world's going to know it, or they're going to be constitutional. The case on them is unrebutable. And the people have had it. But the energy is going in the wrong direction. Why send Mookie $50, your family tree, your birth certificate, and a bunch of other personal information for a national ID? Come on. What's that going to do to get your servants under control? What's that going to do to get an arrest? How's that going to arrest the governor? How's that going to arrest the state police sergeant? How's that going to arrest a county prosecutor or a judge or a congressman or a senator or a sheriff? How? Oh, surety bonds. Oh, great idea. How is that going to get your servants under control, people? You tell me. I want to know. Oh, they'll get kicked out, huh? They'll just replace them with another parasite. How are you going to get them under control? Oh, you form assemblies. We got assemblies formed. Trials have been held. There's no sheriff. You get law enforcement, assemblies will follow. You know why? Because when that sheriff conducts an arrest, it goes to the grand jury. So the sheriff will convene a grand jury out of we the people. If assemblies aren't formed, if grand juries aren't formed, because that's where the sheriff has to go, to the grand jury. Well, let's all get in our trucks and our cars and go to the Capitol and protest the mandate. Millions of us. Let's donate millions of dollars. Let's put up billboards for the vaccine police, for a mandate. We need law enforcement. One man in the county. That's who you're dealing with. One man. So, this is about education. This is about sustained effort. This is about coming together in a very powerful way. And we'll deal with parasites like this Steve Leto, who wants to tell you, you don't have a right to privacy. Listen to this parasite tell you, you need a driver's license. Listen to this parasite tell you that God is not in your Constitution. And take a look at his face. Take a look at his expression, his hand movements. Every time you got a problem, oh, you need an attorney. The hell you do. That's the enemy enslaving you, representing you as your fiction so that administrative judge can punish the living flesh and blood because you give up your rights. You can be a slave or you can be a free man. It's your choice. I know what you want. Put your money and your effort where it belongs, in getting law enforcement. Because with law enforcement, we fix everything. Everything. So that's where it's at. In the description of these videos, these latest videos, there's 4 ways to contribute financially. You can do it through PayPal. You can do it through Give, Send, Go. You can do it through Cash App. What's the other one? There's one more. There's 4. PayPal, Cash App. Oh, GoFundMe. Give, Send, Go. PayPal and Cash App. That's it. If you got $1, send it. If we get $1 million, we'll start putting up billboards. We got to educate the people. We have to educate our sheriffs. They don't know what their job is. They've been that dumbed down. This has been going on since the late 1800s, this infiltration by the enemy. I'm abrogating the bar in Michigan. We're going to be free, people. We're going to have clean water. We're going to have clean, healthy food. We're going to have nutrient-rich soil. We're going to have prosperity. We're going to have free time. They got us running around in circles, chasing our tail, living in fear. Now it's their turn. Now, you sheriffs, you spineless sheriffs have got no sand. I'm here to tell you something. You do the right thing, and we got your back. Another thing I'm doing is giving these sheriffs expanded jurisdiction statewide. Unlimited deputizing authority. You do the right thing, sheriffs, we got your back. You need 500 deputies? You got them. You need 1,000 deputies? You got them. You need 10,000 deputies? Brother, you got them. We got your back. Sheriffs, if you don't have our back, we're coming for you. By God. So wake up. Do what's right. You made friends with the enemy, that's your mistake, not mine. To not know your job is a deceit. To work with the enemy and trespass upon us, that's warring with us. We didn't elect you, and we don't pay you for that. You better understand what you swore an oath to. You better understand who your boss is. You better understand what your job is. How would you like to take your car to a mechanic and find out that the guy working on your car ain't a mechanic? How would you like to go in for knee surgery and find out that it's a car mechanic that's doing your knee surgery? Well, we don't like our sheriffs not knowing their job and working with the enemy and trespassing upon us. We don't like it one bit. And God is really not happy. So people, step up. Raise some money. Share these videos. That's right. We don't need a surveillance. We don't need to be forced to Medicaid. We will live free. We'll live absolutely free with liberty and prosperity. All right. Let's have some fun, people. Let's support the Constitutional Accountability Committee. I picked up the banner. I figured out the path. This can be done in every state. We're not protesting. We're demanding. We're in open court. On camera. Every one of these will be video recorded. These wanted posters are going up. These assemblies and grand juries are forming. And we got elections coming up for sheriff. Now is the time to take action. We'll announce the date once the money is there. Or once I see the money's coming enough, I'll announce the date. And we'll put the teams out on the road. And we will conduct this operation within a matter of days. We'll get every one of these 81 counties served. Recorded, documented, and the whole world's watching. $50,000, that's all we're looking to raise. I don't know how many reams of paper it is. I'm sure it's over 40 reams of paper. We got the gas. Thank you. I just saw PayPal pop up. Somebody sent a little bit of money. Thank you for that. That's what it takes. Everybody should get your notice of liability off of the website. Facilitate it. Own it. I had a question come to me. It was, what if an officer shows up and asks, are there any weapons on the front? Do you have any weapons? How would you answer that, Ethan? I'd hand him a notice of liability, and I'd tell him he's out of his jurisdiction and to get out of here. That's what I'd tell him. That's what I'd do. And you got every right to put one right between his eyes if he comes forceful on you. Life or limb. It's your duty to defend yourself. It's your constitutional duty to defend your life. These parasites don't know what they're playing with. They're playing with fire. This isn't a game. It's a war. It's good versus evil. There is an enemy. They use Black's law, Black's book, Black's magic, spelling, bastardizing the language, and using it against you. You don't need an attorney. You need lawful enforcement of your rights. You have immunity, Americans. Diplomatic immunity. Own it. All right. Are you feeling better? You should. You should be feeling better. Share, share, share. Take action. Serve your sheriff and record it. We got more coming. There's men taking action. We're going to see more of it and more of it. All right. I love y'all. I'm praying for y'all. I'm working for y'all. I'm doing my best to teach you. I don't charge for nothing. Not all my documents, most of my documents are up there on the website. You can use them to study. You can use them to create your own. You can use it to defend yourself. Oh, let's see. This site should have hundreds of thousands of subs. You would think. Going to the library tomorrow, brother. On my way. All right, Rebel. Rebel called me. We had a good conversation. He's a good man. He's going to do his Americans Notice of Liability. I hope he goes and serves as sheriff. I really do. Stella 45. Hello. Teach us what we need to know, and thank you for taking time out of your day to give us with Stella. This is all I do. I can't get a job anywhere. I mean, I can't make a buck anywhere. My neighbors won't give me a job. Let me clean their toilet. Take a chainsaw and take care of a tree that's fallen down, needs to be taken care of. I can't get a job nowhere for nothing. Everyone is afraid to be associated with Ethan Dean because the government's after him. Well, they're after all of you. They are trespassing upon you all day long. So own your authority. Support the Constitutional Accountability Committee. Share this on platform after platform and get out and talk. Take action. Serve your sheriff. Create a video and share it. Share it with me. Share it with the world. All right. So, all right. We're rolling up a little over an hour and 40 minutes here. I keep on going, but I think I've covered what I wanted to cover on this. So, again, much love, everybody. May God put blessings on you, blessing after blessing. We'll be back again soon. I always got something to say. I just never know what it is. I'm never scripted. I just come on and I just do it. So I'm going to sign off now. Own your authority. Share, 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 repeat. Share, 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 repeat. Send a buck. Do a fundraiser. I'm accountable for everything. All the money, regardless where the donation's coming from, is going to the same bank account. It'll all be there in the statements. I'm a good manager. I am. We'll make every penny count. All right. Blessings, love, peace. Talk to you soon.